Okay, we're going to start our section on rational functions, and before we begin that, we're going to spend a day just going over factoring and how to complete our factoring into the simplest forms. And the first thing to remember is that we always look for a GCF. That's the greatest common factor. If there is one, we need to factor it out. Remember, we talked about it being the GCF on the left, so it still remains a part of your problem. You just take it out and put it to the left of your parentheses. Here's an example where we have a binomial. It's 3x minus 15, and we have a common factor of 3. So we can take out the 3. That means divide each term by 3, leaving us 3 times the quantity of x minus 5. Another example here, we have 3x squared minus 75. Both of those are divisible by 3, so we factor out a 3, leaving us the quantity of x squared minus 25. And remember, here we need to factor completely, and this is the difference of two squares. That's a perfect square, that's a perfect square, separated by a minus. So we can then do 3 times the square root of x squared, which gives us x for our first terms, and 25. The square root of 25 is 5, so that goes in our last terms for each set. And our signs have to be different so that when we multiply it and do our outside and inside terms, they'll cancel out. Notice we don't have a middle term right here or an x term. Okay. Now we also factored trinomials where we have 3 terms. Here we don't have anything common, and we use the A&M method or shortened method when our leading coefficient was 1. So our factors here, we're going to ask the question, what are my factors of 32 with a difference of 4? Well, that's 8 and 4, because 8 times 4 gives us 32, and they have a difference of 4. If this sign is negative, then I know my signs inside my parentheses have to be different. And because this leading coefficient's 1, and because this number right here is negative, I know my larger number is going to have to be negative. So when I use FOIL, I know my outside terms give me positive 4x, inside gives me negative 8x. Now, on this example here, we have a leading coefficient that's 2. So we went off to the side, and we put an A and an M, and we multiply these first terms and the last terms together, so it gives us negative 24. And it has to add up to give us 5. And those two numbers are going to be negative 8 and 3. They multiply to give us negative 24 and add to give us, sorry, that should be a positive 8 and negative 3, and add to give us 5. Notice right there I saw my mistake before I even started working. Okay, what we then do is use those two coefficients right here to replace our 5x. So we write it as 2x squared plus 8x minus 3x minus 12. We brought down the first and the last, just replaced the middle terms. And then we found what's common. What's common right here between 2x squared and 8x is a 2x. So again, we're factoring out a GCF right here, leaving us x plus 4. In these two terms right here, we're going to group them together. We get to take out a negative 3. That's what's common to both terms, leaving us x plus 4. Notice those are the same. So we're going to take that out, and that leaves us the 2x minus 3. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and work some examples here. My leading coefficient is 8. I do not have a GCF, so I'm going to go off to the side. First and last terms are 24, and they're adding to be negative 10, and that will be negative 6 and negative 4. So I will replace my middle term, so I now have negative 6x and negative 4x instead of the 10x. And I'm going to group them together, take out what's common. What's common there is 2x, leaves me 4x minus 3. There's nothing common here, but I am going to take out a negative, so I can change the signs here. So I take out a negative, and that becomes 4x minus 3. And that's like a 1 right there. Those two are the same, so I'm going to take that out, leaving me 2x minus 1. And I can use FOIL, remember, to check my answer. I can FOIL it to be sure I got what I started with. On number 2, I'm going to take out the GCF of 2x. I recognize that as a perfect square, separated by a minus sign. I know my signs are different. Whoops, sorry about that. My signs are different right there. And I put the square root of 49 and the square root of x. And that's factored completely. Okay, on number 3.